Hey YouTube, I didn't get to do anything else with the backhoe today because I don't know, I got something going on. It's either a cold or the flu, I don't know which, but had me beat up, so I was pretty much not doing anything today. I wasn't even outside at all except I walked the dog once. But anyway, I had gotten a couple emails and stuff and comments about me being able to do different things. And I thought I'd share with you guys how that came about, and maybe this will be a little bit of encouragement to help some of you to the point that maybe you know someone in your area, some youth that need help, and maybe you can, you know, come up to the plate and help them get going. Or my story may even help you to perk up yourself and, you know, get going with your life and your chores and things that you have to do. So anyway, I think that the first and foremost thing that was important in my life is that my mom and dad were of the same mindset when it came to what they wanted me to learn and what they wanted me to be able to do. So my mom used to say, if you have a wife when you grow up and she gets you sick, you need to be able to help her. So with that, my mom taught me how to iron clothes. She taught me how to scrub floors. She taught me how to do general cleaning and some cooking. Now, I'm not the best at cooking, but I can, you know, I won't starve to death. But anyway, at the same time, she would also tell me to go help my dad on Saturdays and Sundays when he was off of work. And sometimes at night when he, you know, if he was home during the summer when it was still light out. He would always be either remodeling or fixing something, and that is where it started for me. This was all before I turned 12 years old, because it was like phases in my life. My dad basically didn't want to have nothing to do with me by the time I hit 8. You know, other than, you know, I just sort of went with them when they went places. But once I hit 8 years old, he started having me help him a lot more. It was probably because of my age. He didn't want me to get hurt. But from the time I was 8 till the time I was 12, that's when I really started to help him pretty much. And then after 12, it really took off. But anyway, there was no talk about safety gear when I was a kid. And when it came to the chores, you never heard the words, you're too young to do this or that, whatever it was. Those words were never uttered. I was taught how not to hurt yourself. You know, that things are hot, things are sharp, or whatever. But no safety gear. That's not the way it was. So anyway, my grandparents then, on both sides, were the same way. So, you know, no matter where I was, whether I was with my mom and dad or whether we went to meet my grandparents, I was hearing all the same words and all, you know, doing all the same type of things. So I remember one of my grandmothers was carrying a bucket of coal one time, and my grandfather says to me, what kind of a grandson would sit there and watch his grandmother do that work? So, needless to say, I ran to help her, and that was me learning to be diligent. And I think that being diligent today is a problem for our youth. You know, to get up and go do something seems to be a problem for some people. But it wasn't for me. I'm just saying that, you know, not that I'm any better than anybody else. It's just that in doing the work, you know, you learn to be diligent. In other words, you know it has to be done, so you go do it. This is also part of growing up, but I was only a kid when I learned to be diligent. I wasn't grown up, okay? So anyway, a lot of times also my mom would volunteer my time to the neighbors. Like, you know, on a Friday after school, my mom would say to me, tomorrow you're going to do this, or tomorrow you're going to that. She didn't say to me, do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? She just told me this is where you're going, okay? So I'd be gardening, fixing their fires, taking out their garbage, shoveling snow, whatever was on their list, you know. And my mom also said that if you offer to help someone, there is no pay. If they ask you to help them, you can expect to be paid. And that's like a rule, an unwritten rule that we sort of follow. So if I offer to help someone, even my neighbors today, I don't expect payment. But if they come here and say to me, can you do this or will you do this, then I expect something from them if I want it. If I don't want it, that's up to me. But anyway, that's how we worked our things. And whatever they gave you, she would say, you will be happy with. So there was no, so that was the mindset, and I was just went with it, and I never had to look back. Sometimes I'd get a meal for pay, sometimes they would give me tools. Remember one lady gave me a drill, and sometimes money. Either way, it always felt like a win-win to me. It just seemed like I was always getting ahead. So at night then, during the week, I was also outside playing. Just to be fair with to my parents, my life was not all work. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just telling you about how you learn different things like diligence and stuff. So armed with those work ethics then, that I had learned from like the years 8 to 12 years old, I got my first job at Howard Johnson's washing dishes. And I'd wash dishes at nighttime. I was 12 years old from like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 or 5 to 9, something like that, twice or 3 times a week. It wasn't a real full-time job or nothing, but I'm just saying. And the best thing about that job was that the cook that worked there took a liking to me for some reason. I was only a kid, and I had all the mashed potatoes and gravy a person could ever eat. And besides that, I got paid. So it was like, yeah, this is a win-win. So anyway, once I turned 12 then, my dad was always in need of my help. And that's when the housework stuff stopped. In other words, I'd take out the garbage for my mom or do little things that she would ask me to do, but I didn't do the work that I had done when I was a little kid with her. So anyway, that housework stopped, and working with tools, fixing things really started in for me. We fixed everything, my dad, from toasters to motorcycles, truck engines, transmissions, you name it, we fixed it. He just got to be that no matter what came down the pike, there was something being fixed. And he managed to not have clutter, okay, which was important to him, and it's also important to me, although it's not hard to get cluttered real quick. So anyway, so then as things went on, I was 12, 13 years old, as things went on, remodeling then was my mom's favorite job to have my dad and I do. So I mixed so many batches of cement, plaster, and a wheelbarrow, I couldn't even count them all if I had to. We also built things for the neighbors, porches, coal bins, clean chimneys, remodel rooms, anything and everything. We'd do anything, it didn't matter what it was. And, excuse me, one thing I will mention is that my dad never paid me to help him, ever, okay? He never paid me to help him. And that's when I was a kid at home now we're talking about. It was the joy of being with him and getting praises from whoever we did work for. That was my pay. I accepted that, and it felt good, and I liked it. It didn't matter to me that I wasn't getting paid for every single thing I did, because money seemed to come my way anyhow, and you'll hear about it as I go through this. But anyway, doing that taught me to do things right. And the reason I say that is because there's a little thing my dad used to say. There are no praises for crappy work. Okay, so that teaches you to do things right. So then helping my dad with all those jobs taught me everything from like masonry work, roofing, electrical work, plumbing, and all kinds of stuff. I just can't tell you what all I have done, from a kid all up to the age that I am now. And even now I'm still learning all the time, because there's all kinds of new things you're working on. So as time went on, it was my job to load my dad's truck with whatever tools we needed. And he would say, he'd say to me, okay, today we're pouring concrete, or today we're going to hang paneling. And I knew what to put on the truck, so if I messed up, I'd hear about it for weeks. And I mean weeks, he just wouldn't let you forget until you learned it. And that's where I learned responsibility. It was my job to load the truck with tools, and I learned how to do it right. It took time, I made mistakes, but this is how he taught me that. So anyway, I also learned that people would pay for old cast iron, copper tubing, electrical wiring, and lead pipe that we were tearing out of these old houses, and fixing. And those things my dad used to call gravy. And he'd share that money with me. Whatever money he received from those things, that he would give me some. So I learned how not to waste things, and how to look things over that might be usable somewhere else. That's where I learned to be what I'm going to call thrifty, okay? Thrifty. So when I was 15, my dad took me to work with him, which I loved it. He worked construction all his life. My grandfather had a construction company. My dad and my uncles all did it, and I loved it. So anyway, I learned all kinds of jobs there. You know, and trying to shirk a job or let someone else do my job never even occurred to me. That's something that I would not do, and even to this day I don't shirk it. The only thing is I realize sometimes I can't do it. You know, some things are too heavy for me to pick up. But anyway, one Sunday morning, I had turned 16, I had a driver's license, and my dad had bought a motorcycle, and my dad would, you know, help me work on it, show me how to fix it and everything, and I'd use that to go back and forth to work once I turned 16 and stuff at night, or whatever I was doing. That's how I got around for a while. So one Sunday morning, I remember after I'd gotten my driver's license, my dad said, "Today you're going to learn how to move heavy equipment." So at the time, when I was 16 years old, there were no CDL requirements. I never even heard of CDL. So nothing that we knew of anyhow. So anyway, the first thing I moved was a 955 cat loader that my dad had. We did not have a detachable gooseneck, for those of you who were truck drivers, we had on the trailer, and we didn't have ramps on the back of it. So we had to load everything on the trailer that he had on the lowboy from the side. And let me tell you, that was no joke. A lot of times, you know, when you're loading steel tracks onto a steel frame, even though there were planks, it was not always fun. So we moved everything from, you know, loaders, dozers, track hoes, and track hoes that were wider than what the bed was is especially not fun, but nonetheless you learn how to do it. So, and you know, I'd move equipment at night and on weekends to get extra money. So that taught me opportunity and how to reach out and grab it. So, you know, the working and doing is what I liked. The money that came with it just was a side benefit to me. Keep in mind, this stuff was all done before I was 17 years old, what I'm talking about right now. What I'd like you to take away from this little narrative, and, you know, here's the thing. There were no telephones then. None of these electric games to distract the process of learning to do things. Like nothing, there was nothing keeping me from spending time with my dad. There was nothing that I wanted to do. And just so you know, I play guitar, and I always would go up in my bedroom every night when I wasn't doing anything and play the guitar. Even that did not keep me from, you know, working with my dad. That was like a side thing, like a hobby would be to most people. But it wasn't a hobby that I was, you know, so wrapped up in that I couldn't go help my dad when he needed some help. So, like I said, there were no phones, nothing in the way to distract that. And that's the way life was, and that's the way life still is for me. I don't let anything distract me from doing what has to be done. So, no subject, and this, not only did I learn this from my parents, but I've also learned this from Sally, because she is on board with this type of thinking. And what it is no subject then and now was so trivial that it should be neglected. And someone had mentioned about, am I still learning things now? Absolutely. I do a tremendous amount of reading. I read every night before I fall asleep. That's what helps me to sleep. And you never know what I'll be reading. I might be reading about machine works one day. I might be reading, you know, literary works the next. I could tell you the ending of all the 52 short stories that Arthur Conan Doyle wrote, for instance. I mean, I just love that stuff. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of things we can have and a lot of things we can do. So with opportunity, diligence, responsibility, how to be thrifty, you would be surprised how far you can get in life. Have a good one, guys. I'm going to try to get back to work tomorrow, but right now my eyes feel like they're closing on me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.